I think the perspective is we can't assume that people don't want to hear.
Welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Ash Couchman, and I cannot wait to find moments of joy with you today. I am so excited to be diving into the Word of God together today. Let's jump into the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Everyday Joy.
Thank you. So glad to be here. We always have a laugh.
Kate, you just mentioned to me off the mic that you watched The Other Bennett Sister.
I did.
What did you think? Tell me about it.
Ooh.
And give everyone a bit of context to what it is, maybe.
Well, it was going viral and it was everywhere on my feeds or whatever. And I was like, this seems cool. And I like a lot of the Jane Austen kind of stuff. I've watched some other things like Lost in Austen or that one with Kerry Russell where she goes to a Pride and Prejudice experience and she meets
the
Austen Land. Yeah, that was great. Just these sort of adjacent Austen adjacent things. And so I thought this is cool. So I watched it and it was so interesting about the sense of traditional beauty and what things were expected of us and how impactful people's words are. She was so stifled by her mother's disappointment and how she could never meet her mother's expectations could never please her, and so she just believed I'm not lovable. There's no hope for me in this space. So she never stepped out. She never tried until she had a family who said, "We think you're wonderful. We believe in you. You've got so much." And she found this world of people who just thought she was awesome.
Yeah.
Outside of and it really was a people empowering thing. Of it really matters the words and voices that we allow to speak into us. So that's kind of a deep reflection of it. But I thought it was cute and fun.
But I think it's such a great thought. I think I just smiled the whole time because to me, more than any of the other sisters in, watching normal Pride and Prejudice, it's like you can relate to someone who doesn't have it all together and maybe is a bit more insecure. It's really interesting to watch someone and be like
she seemed to have a level of social anxiety, whereas, Jane and Lizzie were very confident in maybe their looks or because they were the oldest, and then the younger two were just
flirts.
Absolutely. And young and, didn't really care what people thought. And so, yeah, it was nice to have felt like a doco, like a behind the scenes. We never paid much attention. So I thought it was really cool.
I loved it.
Wholesome.
It was super wholesome, so cute. Would recommend. It was fantastic. Well, after chatting about period dramas, let's jump into today's words to live by.
Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. From Matthew chapter 5, verse 10.
What comes to mind when you read this, Kate?
Ooh, well, it's part of yesterday's verse as well, the next verse around the Beatitudes and the shift of perspective that Jesus brought in that time. You've been living this way, but actually let me just change it up on you. And what I wrote down was, how much do we avoid this? Question mark. Oh man, we do not want to be uncomfortable. We live in a world where I don't want to offend people or make people feel awkward. And it made me think about, what do we think persecution is? I don't think there would be many people listening who've literally been persecuted for their faith, who've been in a place where their lives were in danger, where they had to flee because of their faith. We know someone who had to leave their home country because of their Christian faith. And I have a few other people that I know that, felt like they couldn't continue living in the space that they were in. And there's a whole charity set up, the Voice of the Martyrs, about people who are literally martyred for their faith. And we have no idea. That's what we face in... Well, someone doesn't like church or doesn't want to, come to church or hates Jesus or something like that. It's nothing compared to so many. So I would think back in all my evangelism and missions, I reckon I've only had one person who was like really annoyed or angry at me at talking about Jesus. I don't know if they spat at me, but maybe. But that was the one time in many, many years of missions and outreach and talking to people about Jesus. Not that I'm a major crazy evangelist, and I say that the world needs more crazy evangelists. But, there's a lot of mercy and justice and missions and English teaching and things like that to connect with people. But I probably only had one person who was really not for it. So I don't know. I didn't really say much there, but the fact that I think we want to maybe challenge ourselves. What do we think that persecution actually is?
We're not necessarily facing the terrifying persecution. But I think we probably experience it maybe in more social ways, would you say? I feel like maybe we experience it more in like a, maybe we are criticized for what we do and don't do.
Yeah.
Or we are left out of things because people know our values don't align. Like, and even then, who knows if that's persecution in itself, but in the West, we probably feel it at times over, I've lost this opportunity because of my faith. Or that's probably the main thing that I've seen in the West. It's,
And then also the idea of maybe what we assume that people think about faith. And I think this whole thing of persecuted because of righteousness versus my take on some kind of hot topic, abortion, or a lot of big topic things that lots of people have ideas about, and also very varying ideas within
the church,
secular or faith, absolutely. But that we think that most people, if you wanted to know Jesus, you already would. And if you don't know God, that's because you've chosen not to, or you don't like it. I don't like church. But I think if Jesus was shifting perspective I think he is in the Beatitudes, that part of this conversation is maybe we need to shift our perspective too, to not make that assumption that people would already had said yes to Jesus if they wanted him. People would already go to church if they wanted. And I'm 43, so I'm a Gen Y or millennial, and you are classified Gen Z, is that right? And so you're 25. Fabulous. So think about, could I be your mother? Maybe. I want to move on from that. That's weird. Totally disparity there. But something that I was talking to someone I had on my Oz Music Showcase Friday night show here on The Light was asking him a question of what's happening with Gen Z right now? This absolute flood of young people discovering God and coming to church and starting to have spiritual questions and asking things. And it was a really great thought. And he talked about that, lots of them are really disappointed by what media and social media and the world has said, hey, have all these things, do all these things and you'll be happy. And they're just realizing en masse that actually we are in a terrible place. The world is not better for us. What we said was going to be convenient and fun and easy has trapped us and caused us to doubt ourselves and hate ourselves and all of that kind of stuff. And so they're like, well, maybe the church has the answer. We don't know. We've never explored it before. We don't have Christian parents. We didn't grow up in the church. And so they don't have church hurt necessarily or disappointment in that. And they're running to God and they're discovering him in droves. And it's incredible and super exciting. And so I think the perspective is we can't assume that people don't want to hear.
Yes. Yeah. And I also think we can't assume that if we're being rejected for something, criticized for something, mistreated for doing the right thing or choosing what you believe is holy, it's not meaningless. Like it is godly. And it's the Beatitudes. It's what God's calling us to. And so I think for us, it's about being okay with being left out. It's okay with, not fully having the support of everyone around you. It's okay to do the things that you believe are holy and that God is calling you to, even if the people that don't have a faith around you completely disagree. If they mock you, make fun of you, like that's okay.
Yeah.
It's worth it in the long run. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the podcast. I hope that it encouraged you, that it's helped you through, and that it helps to challenge you through the season of life that you're facing, uplift you if you're feeling down. And most of all, I pray that you're able to draw closer and closer to God. I'm so excited to keep diving into the Word of God with you. I pray you're able to find moments of joy.